Have you ever loaded up GTA because you were bored, driving around the city for a while, evade every traffic light, and then suddenly decided to head to the beach and run over a bunch of pedestrians on a beautiful sunny day? What? You've done that? Well, let me tell you something. You're a fucking psychopath. My mom always had a stigma against violent video games. She genuinely believed that playing violent games made people more violent. That's why I wasn't allowed to play games like GTA when I was a kid. Despite all the warnings, my cousins and I always found a way to sneak out at a local shop that had one of those arcade machines where you could play GTA San Andreas. The adrenaline I felt wasn't just because the game let you unleash your darkest impulses. Part of the thrill came from knowing I was doing something I wasn't supposed to do. I was playing behind my parents' backs. So yeah, I could say I was quite a little rebel. Games like Rockstar's Grand Theft Auto series became successful not just because of their groundbreaking mechanics, but because they weren't afraid to tackle controversial subjects or make jokes that many people consider to be in poor taste. People are naturally drawn to games that are bold and unapologetic about what they are. One of Rockstar's biggest and most memorable controversies was the infamous hot coffee minigame in GTA San Andreas. It was essentially a hidden sex minigame involving your in-game girlfriend. Yeah, I know what you're thinking.
There's so much porn!
But considering the time it came out, it's actually fascinating that Rockstar even attempted something like that. The minigame was disabled in the game's code, but members of the modding community eventually discovered how to unlock it and access the hidden content. Other controversial games that I ended up playing when I was around 12 years old were Postal 2 and Hatred. Looking back, honestly, I have no idea how I managed to get my hands on games like that at that age. Postal 2 became far more popular than its predecessor, but not because it was violent. It was just because it was a completely absurd. You could pee on people, start fires, and even use cats as suppressors for your weapons. You could just do about the dumbest thing you can think of. But here's the interesting part. You never actually had to kill anyone to finish the game. Postal 2 gave you ridiculous ordinary objectives, like going to buy a carton of milk. If you decided to go on a killing spree, that was entirely your choice. I always found that to be a fascinating design philosophy because of the way we choose to play a game often says more about us than the game itself. Now, on the complete opposite of the spectrum, there's Hatred. This game didn't really have much context. There wasn't much of a story. There wasn't any satire. Just a guy whose only goal was to murder civilians. Many people consider it tasteless, arguing that it glorified violence. The controversy became so big that the game was temporarily removed from several digital storefronts, before Steam ultimately decided to allow its release. I describe Hatred as a much darker, more nihilistic game. From the very first minute, the protagonist makes it clear that he isn't trying to save anyone or accomplish some greater mission. His only objective is to kill innocent people. That left me wondering, why do we enjoy violent video games? And more importantly, when does violence stop being entertaining? Because if you think about it, games like GTA, Doom, and Mortal Kombat are incredibly violent, yet millions of people love them. Meanwhile, Hatred managed to make a lot of players genuinely uncomfortable. That's when I wanted to try something different. I wanted to create a game that was both violent and comedic, based on the idea that violence itself isn't necessarily what entertains or disturbs people. It's how that violence is presented, and what the game is trying to say with it. One day, while I was sitting in a lecture at a university, I completely zoned out. The class had gotten painfully boring, so my mind started wandering. I began thinking about how much fun games are when absolutely everything can be destroyed, and everything has physics, including the bodies. Being the astounding student I am, I completely ignored the lecture, pulled out my tablet and started sketching what a game like that might look like. A 2D platformer filled with deadly traps, armed enemies, politically incorrect dialogue, drugs as power-ups, and an absolutely ridiculous story. After all of that, my professor asked me to leave the classroom because class had ended 30 minutes earlier. I started building a prototype. Physics, player movement, inventory system. I worked through my list one feature at a time. One of my favorite systems was the ragdoll physics. Watching enemies bounce around after getting shot was way funnier than it probably should have been. Their bodies could be dismembered, blood would splatter all around the hallways, and before I knew it, I had created an unnecessarily violent game, which was exactly the point. Next came the weapons: a pistol, an AK-47, a shotgun, an Uzi, and of course an RPG, just so you could completely obliterate your enemies. Then I added environmental hazards like crushing pistons, spikes, buttons, electrified floors, and an enemy AI that surprisingly still works better than I remembered. Eventually I stopped and I asked myself, what is this game missing? That's right, dear viewer, power-ups. So I opened up Microsoft Paint and I started designing some consumable items. After a long and highly sophisticated design process, I ended up with masterpieces such as... To be fair, I was never trying to make a game that took itself too seriously. When it came to the story, I wanted to keep things relatively simple, given the nature of the game. It didn't need an overly complex narrative. The SSA, or Super Soldier Agency, is a secret government division dedicated to creating super soldiers through unethical human experimentation. Operating from a hidden research facility erased from all official records, the organization recruits, kidnaps, and exploits people it considers expendable, turning them into weapons to serve the interests of the states. Officially, the SSA exists to protect national security. In reality, its purpose is far darker. Its mission is to create soldiers capable of intervening in conflicts, securing strategic resources, and preserving the country's political and military influence wherever it's necessary. The SSA is ultimately a critique of how technology, propaganda, and even ordinary people can be weaponized in the pursuit of power. It explores the idea that wars are often fought not for justice, but to protect the interests of those already in power. In this world, scientific progress is no longer a tool to improve humanity. Instead, it becomes another weapon used to sustain the cycle of exploitation, imperialism, and suffering. What? Anyway, the point is, you're one of the SSA's most successful experiments. Your only ability is telepathy, the power to control other people. That's it. No super strength, no invincibility, no laser beam, just your mind. Your objective is simple: escape the facility. To do that, you'll have to manipulate guards, fight your way through soldiers and other super soldiers, and use your powers however you can to survive. The game begins when a short circuit causes the door to your containment cell to unlock. Much to the surprise of one of the scientists, you've escaped. Director Knight, the head of the Super Soldier Agency, will do everything in his power to stop you. If you make it out alive, you could expose everything the government has been doing behind the public's back. And that's Escape the Lab. It's probably one of the most fun games that I've ever worked on. It's definitely not finished yet. I still have plenty of ideas I'd like to add, but I'm really happy to where it's gotten so far. So, if the game looks interesting to you, let me know. Who knows, maybe this is the motivation I need to finally finish it.